I'd never burned the way those two men made me burn. I trusted Ian with her body, but no matter how many hours he spent inside of her, I knew she was becoming mine. Book 3, final book in the Bridge series. The love story of Olivia, Will, and Ian. The triplet. Instead of couple, it's a thruple. I kind of liked it. It was refreshing, but this is 2 guys to a girl. Do you think that something like this would actually happen in real life? This book also came with some really great fun facts about Will and Ian. According to Olivia, Will's kisses are magic. Will stripped her down until she was raw and real. Will speaks flawless French, which is a really great skill. Ian smelled spicy, like smoke and musk. I do admit, I love a good musk smell on a man. Olivia is the sister of Cam and Darren. Cam owned that gym, was doing really well, and so they were building a new location in New York. I think Will owned the building above the gym. He was also building this luxurious penthouse that he was gonna live in. Now, Ian was best friends with Darren. He was also a firefighter playboy. He somehow got kicked out of his living situation, or he left his living situation, went to Will's, and he's like, can I crash here for a little bit? He's like, sure, if you help out with the construction of the penthouse. While Ian was rooming with Will, it was like a couple of months, and they started sharing women. One of the women that they shared was Gia. Ian would see Olivia at her brother's gym because that's where she would go and work out. He kind of fell for her but never made a move because of her brothers would probably like beat him up or something. Cam and Darren gave Olivia, since she didn't really have a job, Olivia was still living off of like trust money from her parents. She didn't really work. With this new gym being built, she was in charge of the design. She noticed there is an issue with some wall that was like, first as you walk in the door, it's supposed to be a glass wall. And one day when she went to visit the construction site, she noticed that it wasn't glass, that they were putting up drywall. And she's like, this is a mistake. She just walked over that whoever was looking at blueprints, this wall is wrong. It's supposed to be glass. Why is it drywall? That guy that she was complaining to ended up being Will. Will kind of thought this was saucy and sexy of her to do and kind of annoying at the same time, but more on the sexy side. Will finds this little sexy sassiness in Olivia. He asks her out for dinner, but she knows that he's kind of like a playboy, so she resists at first. And he's like, it's okay, it'll be like a business meeting to discuss your ideas for the wall. By like chapter 4, we already know that Will is falling in love with Olivia. The first time they have sex, he kind of wishes he didn't use a condom so he could mark her. Olivia hasn't even gone out with Ian yet. Ian and Will share women sexually. Even though Will is already getting very possessive of Olivia, he's thinking he can still treat her like he does other women. One and done. But he can't. Gia even comes back and tries to be sex buddies again, and Will and Ian totally like brush her off like, oh no, I mean, we're both seeing this other girl. As the relationship between Olivia and Will and Olivia and Ian progress, Will convinces Olivia for him and Ian to share her for her maximum pleasure. I mean, that's like some good sales technique right there. Although Will's not 100% sold on the idea, they're trying to convince her to be one of those girls that they're just one and done with, that they share, like Gia. Ian's dad passed away several years prior, but he still has his dad's old art studio, which is just sitting there. It's kind of like a warehouse, and everything inside of it has just been sitting there for a long time, and he hasn't gone back because of the painful memories of his dad passing away. He takes Olivia to his dad's old art studio as he's like starting to fix it up again, and this is where they have sex by themselves, like in an intimate way. This is where they connect on a soul level. They bond extra over this because Olivia went to college for arts. Like, she's a painter, but she hasn't painted in a long time. This has made her feel really lost. But being connected with art through Ian makes her want to paint again. So he coerces her to start painting in his dad's art studio. I think she starts painting something on the floor. It like starts to make her whole again. They had marathon sex. It was great. Marathon sex is awesome. Now, their first threesome, Will dreams about Olivia. Will and Olivia end up falling asleep together, just the two of them, on this giant custom-made bed in his penthouse. It has to be custom because it has to fit two big guys and a girl, you know, potentially at the same time. So they fall asleep together, and Will dreams about Olivia, and he wakes up in the middle of the night from this dream. The dream just caught him so off guard that he needed to roll over and wake Olivia up by having sex with her. I called it, okay? I totally called it. This is how she got pregnant, because there is no mention of a condom, and middle of the night sex, you're like not really like half asleep, half awake. This is just, you know, like instinctual animal reactions. He just has to have her, and there's no thought about, oh, she's not on birth control or no condom or anything like that. I totally called it. This is the time where he confesses to her that he's falling in love with her. He even confessed it to her dad. Well, now comes the ribbon cutting of the opening of the new gym in New York. The thruple is there. Olivia's brothers are obviously there, and then their wives. This is the night where Olivia's brothers, Cam and Darren, find out that she is in a threesome. Ian is the best friend of Darren. They kind of break up over this. How dare you have sex with my sister? And she's all like, hang on. I love both of them, and we're really happy. They don't accept it at first, and they all get really mad at each other. This is super weird. We're super disappointed in your choices, and she's getting mad because she's like, it's like you don't want me to be happy. And Olivia distances herself from her family. Her brother's wives actually understand it a little bit better, but it's like they never want her to find love. Now, Will and Ian want to move forward with their relationship, with their thruple relationship, and permanently commit to Olivia. They all move into their newly renovated penthouse. Everyone has their own room, and they gave Olivia the master suite with the giant custom bed. Olivia makes a trip to her doctor so that she can get on the pill and so they can stop using condoms. But while she's at the doctor, I called it right. The doctor told her, you're pregnant. And she's all like, what? I don't understand. Oh, I guess there was that one night that Will woke me up in the middle of the night and we didn't use a condom. So she's super nervous about telling both of them. Ian did not take this pregnancy news well, and he just got really mad and left. Ian was kind of pissed that Will impregnated her without discussing between the three of them, which is understandable, but you know, you're all having sex a lot, so even if there is protection, there's still a chance of someone getting pregnant. But Olivia still loved him, and Ian still loved Olivia, and it was actually Will who went after Ian, convinced him to come back to the thruple and to stay with them. And Olivia gave birth to a baby girl, and they stayed in their penthouse happily ever after above a gym. Somewhere in the haze, I wish I could have come inside her and marked that place that made her shake. The silence between us felt electric with possibilities. Lie back and let me blow your mind. But the woman he had uncovered wasn't good anymore. She was a shell of need, and she wanted to be filled. Perfection didn't exist, but if it did, it already exists inside of you. I felt expensive, sexual, and cared for.